This is Lauren.
This is Trey.
And this
is the Partnership Podcast. Interesting podcast. We touch on a bunch of stuff. Trigger to sensation to safety to impact. Then a big topic. What is sex? How do Lauren and I define sex? Enjoy. Good morning.
Good morning, my lover.
What are we talking about today?
First, let's talk about how you're feeling, resiliency, those types of things, because we lead with honesty, if not anything else, on this podcast.
Sure.
Yeah. Give us some context. Yeah.
Oh no, I feel like shit. I'm not sleeping well. It's the mattress. I don't have lower back support right now, so all I do is fucking toss and turn, and then I don't look forward to going to bed right now. We have a new one on the way, but it's not here yet. So, and then we had our baby is going through freshman orientation this morning, so it was a little chaotic for me, just in the house, and it was just overstimulating. And so, all I really want to do is go back to bed, but I'm fighting anger. So, which is interesting, because I want to be angry right now. So that's what's going on. How does that make you feel?
Curious.
Good. Yeah.
I was just thinking about the thing that we've done literally on camera last time of trigger leads to overwhelming sensation, leads to safety seeking behavior, leads to impact. And so I was just thinking, yeah, I wonder if we got curious and compassionate towards the anger. If it just allows a different path forward. So that's what I was thinking, is that's those sensations in your body are beautiful and wise, right? And you are really interestingly attempting to avoid, correct me if I'm wrong, the same safety seeking strategies that you would have used before. Get angry, yell, those types of things. I see you approaching it with curiosity. I'm proud of you.
What's it called when you want to just get through something? And it's my whole day, and my whole day is I just want to get through this. But really what I need is a nap.
Yeah.
That's what I need. I need a 20-minute lay down or 30 minutes to close my eyes and then come back up, and I'll get more juice.
Yeah.
But what's it called when you want to get through it?
I mean, if we were talking attachment, it's dismiss how your body's feeling.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's avoid, dismiss. I lived a life like that, honey. I mean, because my nights were terror. 4 out of 7 nights of my life while I was married. And I would wake up, I would have slept 0 to none. And I would bury it all inside of me, and I would power through my days.
It's called bypassing.
I don't recommend.
Or disassociation.
I mean,
in order to get through,
extremes.
In order to put on a smiley face and sacrifice. Ugh. I was listening to a podcast, and 2 people were talking about sacrifice, where they were equating religion, certain types of religion, and then sacrifice, and then they tried to do it to an evolutionary standpoint where we're constantly sacrificing to get here, and they couldn't find anything wrong with that. But I don't think they were factoring in that sacrifice, you have to be very careful, because You want to start over?
No.
I don't want to talk about sacrifice.
It was fascinating.
Are we supposed to talk about sex?
No, it was really... Yeah, pick back up. So they were not factoring in what?
It can be used to control people, or it can be used to keep people in a really bad toxic situation. And that wasn't mentioned, and that pissed me off.
I find it so interesting differentiating between sacrifice and service.
Okay.
And I love in Dr. Betty Martin's Wheel of Consent that in her modality, and it's not perfect, it's not foolproof, An act of service always originates with the one requesting the act of service. Trey, will you take out the trash? What's so beautiful about that is it keeps us away from sacrifice and martyrdom. It then allows the person receiving the gift, okay, to luxuriate in the gift and be thankful for the gift and express thanks for the gift. It allows the person providing the service to negotiate their way to terms that feel best in their body. I don't think we should be giving outside of our limits. And for decades, I was taught that, of course, you should be giving outside of your limits. That's sacrifice. That's suffering for the sake of the kingdom. That's so many words which never equipped me or taught me how to give within my limits.
Yeah.
You are a very giving person.
Doesn't that keep people in their place? Mm-hmm. If that's what's kind of indoctrinated at a young age.
Mm-hmm. You have a lot of... Sorry, go ahead.
And doesn't it... because they told you not to get divorced.
Yeah.
Your ex-husband at the time was dealing with alcoholism. Mm-hmm. Night, what's it called?
The parasomnia.
Parasomnia, which is like night zombieism.
That's horrified.
Probably not put very well. And then he's now happily out and gay. Mm-hmm. But they wanted you to sacrifice and stay in that relationship. Mm-hmm. And then didn't it almost have to do with it would make them look bad because they're numbers?
The way I see it when I zoom out for like a macro perspective, it's that when we have a lot of exhausted people, we become codependent on systems. We could look at healthcare, we could look at so many things, right? Flourishing, healthy people don't need systems as much. And the moment I started to get well is when I saw this a lot. Again, I think faith and spirituality can be beautiful things. I really do. I think religious dogma, scary town, right? Orthodoxy, control, all of these types of things that have been known to, I don't know, kind of be outputs, fruits of religious systems. So I also cringe at the word sacrifice. I think that partnership, for instance, you were asking like how it makes me feel that you shared your feelings. Okay. It could be something that I'm like, well, Lauren, you just need to sacrifice what you were hoping to talk about today to be present with Trey and just make Trey happy, right? And make sure he's cared for. But instead we had a conversation before we went on air of, hey, this is what I was hoping to talk about, why I was hoping to talk about it. We can save it for another day.
Mm-hmm. Or we could talk about it. We could pivot and talk about it. And also, like, make Trey happy. I go to isolation.
Yeah.
Where I don't want anyone to try to make me happy.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work. Because then I feel, not pasteurized. What's the word?
Placated?
Placated right or pacified. Mm. Yeah. Where I feel, is infantilized? Is that like by a kid? Mm-hmm. And what's the definition of infantilized?
Infantilization, or in my
like
case, parentification, which would be me acting like I'm parenting you, like mama, right? Like what I would do if the baby was having a hard day, which the baby doesn't even like it. So I just try to stay out of all mothering tendencies unless asked, right? Yeah. This is the cool thing about service. I was working with folks on this the other day I know it's scary, but choosing is more important than doing. Okay. So right before we got on camera, I said, Trey, what do you need? That choice is vitally important. Because if we take a sacred pause and we give Trey a moment to say, what do I need? From yourself first and foremost, but then from me, then you can ask for what you need. And then I can decide in my own agency whether or not I have the capacity to give that to you.
Before the camera started rolling, Lauren asked me this, and I said I need to go back to bed. But it was neat to do like a check-in. And then, this is what I wanted to say, where it's like, Lauren's like, should we do this at another time? And And so we checked our schedules. I go, will it work for tomorrow? And it's like it would be super early in the morning, or it would be like midday. Middays are hard for me. And so I'm like, babe, let's get in the chairs. Mm-hmm. And you also gave me, it's like, hey, do you want to do a bye week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do you want to skip it?
We the bosses.
Yeah, we the bosses. But thank you. Like those options presented to me, that's really refreshing because it keeps me in my agency.
And it doesn't make us the victims of our story.
Yeah.
What you experienced, that exhaustion that you woke up with, is what millions of parents around the world wake up to every day after they have been up all night with an infant or a toddler.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is so hard not to go to the place of, I'm so exhausted, I got no sleep. Mm-hmm. That's why midwives and doulas and lactation consultants and postpartum doulas have for ages been like, sleep when the baby sleeps during the day. My wise midwife, when I started tipping into postpartum depression and anxiety, and I would just get so frustrated because I couldn't do anything during the daytime hours. Mm-hmm. And she sat me down and she looked me in the eyes and she said, how much sleep did you get last night? And I said, 2 hours. And she goes, okay, my new challenge for you is every morning you wake up and you say, how much sleep did I get last night? And that determines the goals you set for yourself that day. So if you got 2 hours of sleep, you can still set some goals. Those goals might be take a shower, make a sandwich, take a walk.
Yeah.
If you got 4 or 5 hours, which feels like magic, shout out to all the parents out there. You're like, oh my God, I can do anything. Then, yeah, go meet a friend for coffee. Yeah, then work on that work project. But change your goals. You're not a victim. We live in this culture that celebrates accomplishment, and that has trickled down into how we view ourselves as well. It's okay to wake up and go, I got a shit night of sleep. How can I be compassionate and reassess my goals for today?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. It's very interesting because I'll go, like, my default is it'll become mountainous. Mm-hmm. Like, of this simple, they're really simple kind of basic errands that I need to accomplish today, but it becomes mountainous if I have this low of resiliency, and then I go to blame, I go to victimization, and then anger.
Yeah.
Like there's been a couple of times where I've just wanted to start screaming this morning, and it's nothing you've done, it's nothing I've done. And that's fucked in my mind where it's like I'm resisting just getting overwhelmingly, but there's also some type of nervous system calming because I've calmed my nervous system screaming as loud as I can before.
It does.
It's quite calming.
It reverberates the eardrum, which then does this really cool neurological thing. So there are many things that say that could actually be good. It truly is. Another thing that works just as well is singing a song very loudly. So if you wanted to make it slightly more pleasant and not angry, the research shows that like singing a sustained loud note, but it's the same thing. I think it's just a different expression. It's a different expression. Epsom salt baths work too.
I'm going to take a nap.
Sleep.
After this, I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah. We often don't give ourselves the same amount of grace that we would another. If I had slept as poorly as you had, what would you tell me this morning?
Oh, and I had like full resiliency?
You have full resiliency now.
I have a full battery?
I slept like shit.
I just try to start taking stuff off your plate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I can hear you saying, baby.
I would actually like try to like kindly bully you into giving me things. Mm-hmm. Honey. I'd hit you with that voice.
Yes,
babe, babe. Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, how can I support you today? And you'd be like, taking care of yourself.
You go to, can I say it? Mm-hmm. You go to like whiny. You go to like, go to that. You go to whiny wine. Not that that's a bad thing, but I would try to start taking as many things off of your plate as I could because I know you also have a full day of clients. Mm-hmm. Or you have a full day of software. She's updating her software right now. It's a pain in the tuchus. So yeah, I was like, can I make you eggs? I would just try to make your life easier. Fuck, yeah, and that's what you tried to do for me.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, babe. Yeah, why is it weird where it's like, no, I go to like, oh, I don't want it. I don't get it.
So many reasons. I think I am in a feminine body. I represent the feminine in your life, which your OG connection to that is
My hardwired stuff.
your mom.
Not safe,
and yeah.
My
and
mother
so,
was not a safe connection.
And I don't take it personally because I don't think I've ever done anything to like harm your body in that way or your nervous system. But I think some of that's just left over in that way, because the times that you do boldly ask for something like, baby, could you make me eggs? You receive it so beautifully. But see, that's the thing about service, is that when we've requested it, it doesn't feel like parentification.
There's also something scary in my body that I'm either asking for too much or it's not going to be fulfilled.
Right.
That's very scary.
Talked about ad nauseum on here, and how I've at times done a great job to help disprove that lie, that myth, and times not done a great job. Yeah, I think as partners, our biggest challenge might be to become safe partners that can be requested from.
It's hard for me to ask for help, especially if I have high resilience. Like right now, if my resilience is at a 0.5, it's also hard for me to ask for help. Where it's like, I know how to soothe, or I know what I need.
Yeah.
And there is something probably ego-driven of like, no, you're not going to take things off my plate. I take things off my plate. And that's probably hardwired. Because mom was never a safe haven when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, in my 20s, and now. There was some seasons, there was some moments of like wonderful times, but that was fleeting. And that had to do when I moved out of the house. And it wasn't her house, her rules, and we were on equal ground a little bit. But there was just some brief moments where mom was like, oh, but she was never stable. Ever. Moments. There was just maybe some years. Maybe a couple of years or a couple of months where she was like stable, or I saw her as that. That was it.
I mean, gentle audience, when you do the research about our parental figures, our primary caregivers being our first examples of relational behavior, sexual behavior, romantic behavior, we owe it to ourselves to be able to have these types of conversations. Because I hope everyone hears that you're not afraid to ask me for things. You are relying upon old patterns and strategies that brought you to safety. That is not a bad thing. So finding out ways to get curious and compassionate, try things, is a far better way than us getting in a yelling match over, you're just a stubborn man,
yeah,
right?
I don't want to yell at you.
Who won't let me or me yell at you.
And I don't want to be criticized.
No, right? It just
I don't want to be
doesn't-
put into a position to be criticized too. That was this morning too. It was I was
Yeah,
given a
you
job.
fell- yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's fine. I was given a task to like monitor waffles, and I was looking for a single green light, and it never came. There was a green and a red light, or just a red light. There was never a single green. And then I was like, these probably need to come out now. I took them out, and they were like, I don't know, they were crackers now. They weren't waffles anymore. They were crackers.
I'm going to sprinkle it on top of some yogurt. I'm
Yeah.
very excited.
Yeah, crunchy. I made granola this morning. But I was, yeah. And then you just jokingly said, like, these are crackers now. And I go, wait a minute.
I know.
I wasn't given, it never came.
Eh,
And it's like, I didn't want to either. I didn't want this job. Yeah, I wanted to stare out the window. I'm trying to make friends with the crows now in our backyard. I want this house to be a friendly crow haven. We have these beautiful trees in our backyard, and then the crows hang out. So I went out and I got a concrete bird feeder so they can come nest, and I've been doing unsalted peanuts. I want to be friends with the crows.
I love it.
I want everyone to know. I want this to be a public forum, okay? Trey.
Some people try to keep crows away, but
In front
not
of the crows.
Not,
Not us. And this isn't a setup. I'm not poisoning them or trying to shoot them.
No, he's not. He really wants them here.
I want to be friends with crows. They're very smart.
I love it. Well, it is not important. Please know you have full permission from me. If I ever ask you to monitor the waffles and I say, will you? You can say, no, I will not.
It doesn't feel good for me.
I know, but you can.
Doesn't
Because
feel
do
good
we
for
see
me.
where it
Literally, it's watch this. Watch this. I turn my head like this. That's me monitoring. I mean, it's a very simple task. It just never went solo green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think all I said was watch for the green light. And I think yeah, right? Which is, it's so interesting. This is how I talk about sex with people. Because they're like, well, I told him I wanted a massage. And then he's like, yeah, but I didn't know how I wanted the massage, right? There's so much more clarification that needs to happen with communication. And yeah. Also, FFT. I don't think you'd ever watched for the green light before.
I haven't made waffles in like a year.
Yeah. So it's so fine. But please know, you can always say no or something else.
That doesn't feel good for me to say no. Especially to you. I don't like saying no to you. It's hard for me to say no to you.
Yeah. I love you. I think it's actually a good segue into what I wanted to talk about. Can I tell you why?
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
I got a little juice. It just picked me up right there. A little pick me up.
This is why I think it's a nice segue. Is that if this type of communication is tender and difficult and precarious at times and new, and you and I are constantly uncovering new ways we can be empathetic towards each other, compassionate, helpful, yada, yada. Sexual communication and expectations we have of ourselves as sexual partners inside of short-term partnership, long-term partnership, even more scary. These, again, initial impacts that we had in our families of origin, cultures of origin, are fascinating to me. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today was this concept of what is sex. I've said on here a million times that Betty Dodson says that women are conditioned to fear sex, men are conditioned to fear failing sex. And if I don't see that played out every single solitary day of my working life with folks, every single solitary day. And what has been breaking my heart recently is I have a lot of male-bodied clients. Shout out, you're the best. And we are working to deconstruct this narrative that there's supposed to be a sex god. And we are working with my female-bodied clients who think that they're just supposed to work so hard to enjoy a penis thrusting in and out of them, because that's what sex is, and they don't want to fear sex, but they're fearing sex because that's all they think sex is. And then I have men who are like, well, but I can't keep an erection or get an erection or all of these types of things because we have so made sex this like super narrow thing that no one ever really defined, because we don't talk about sex in our homes and in our schools and anywhere else aside from entertainment, which love it. Love porn, love these things. Entertainment. It's like the movies.
Fast and the Furious.
Right?
Our Fast and the Furious analogy, you don't learn how to drive a car watching Fast and the Furious. Like, you don't learn how to do cool sex stuff watching porn.
Or reading a lot of erotic literature or watching Notting Hill. Like, it's just, that is not how we form healthy relationships, both romantically and sexually. So, a few clients over this past week have been like, okay, fine. Then what is sex? They just like say it to me. Is sex. And so I share a few things and I'm like, but it's not about me. What is it for you? And these statements coming back are some of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. So then I thought, I don't think Trey and I have ever had this conversation. And I think I came out of a session last week. It was like, babe, I want to talk about this on the podcast, didn't I? Mm-hmm. Like, what is sex? And we can get philosophical here. We could get anatomical. I need another omical, but I can't think of one right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What comes to mind when I ask you that question?
What is sex?
Yeah.
Can you go first?
Yeah. Because I've even been thinking, what would we classify as sex? Right?
The term sex gets really narrow for me when it actually is sex. That's very narrow for me. The question, how do you have really good sex? That's where it gets broad. So that's interesting, like in my imagination. Yeah.
I think I said to this client that sex is pleasure. Sex is the shared experience with oneself, with erotic material, with a partner, with partners, that brings the self-pleasure, and if others are present, others' pleasure as well. It is giving and receiving. It is taking and allowing. It is conversations. It is touching. It is exploring. It is surrendering. It is dominating. It is play. To say that sex is just a penis in a vagina obviously is very heteronormative, right? Because there's so many people who don't put a penis in a vagina as the act of sex. So obviously we have to undo that. To attach it purely to orgasm is to put a lot of pressure on a lot of people. To prioritize orgasm, I think is great, but to say it's not sex unless there's orgasm present seems silly too. To say it's naked is interesting, right? Because I've had great orgasms through my clothes. I've had great sexy times. I think it gets really interesting when we talk about penetrative intercourse in a vagina. Great. That's a term. I like that term. I like penetrative intercourse in an anus. That's a term. I like terms such as digital stimulation, which would be fingering, right? There are so many things, to your point, that I think we could give better descriptions of. But I think that's what I'd say right now for me. And what I was sharing with several folks this week is, so what about for you? What if I think this is what a client said last week. They said, sex is liberation. And I got goosebumps all over my body. Sex is, I think they went on to say, like liberation from the constraints that I live in every day. We've said on here before that Esther Perel says that sex isn't something we do. Sex is someplace we go.
Okay.
I know I'm talking very philosophical. So yeah, tossing the ball to you.
I think what you said is the blueprint for how to have good sex. When you described all of those things, all those juicy, wonderful things, that is a foundation for how to have good sex. And then what you're working on, I'm not sure specifically what you're working on with your people, but for sex, are roadblocks the things that you think you have to do? I have to versus kind of juicy, wonderful things I get to. So there's I have to do these things or be these things or be this way versus I get to.
That's so beautiful. I literally just saw in my mind, I might have to make this graphic. You just turned me on again. You and your graphics, your pH scale, now your roadblock. I envisioned a road trip. You and I love a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between traffic that is backed up because of construction that delays us to our destination by an hour. And, oh my goodness, look at this little cute shop on the side of the road. Can we pull off the road and go spend an hour at that shop? Right? Both things
It's gonna take an hour longer to get to like your ultimate goal. Yeah.
One causes frustration.
If you choose to let it.
Mm-hmm. But one is curiosity. The things you have to do. Can you give me an example? What would be something that could be a roadblock for a person with a penis, for a guy, for a dude, pleasuring a woman?
Well, you said at the beginning like sex god or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Breaks my heart. So many folks feel like they should know.
Or I have to be hard the whole time, or she's not going to think I'm interested. One of the personal things for me is like receiving oral sex. I'm getting more comfortable doing so, but in the past, for the majority of my life, I've thought that I've taken too long, or I've become uninterested, or not known how to communicate whether like this doesn't feel good, this does feel good, where eventually it leads to like me avoiding it because I have all of these things. I have to come fast. That was one where she's not going to think it's good, or she's not going to like, yeah, or so. Versus I get to luxuriate in this thing that this person wants to give to me.
Can we talk about this time frame thing?
Yeah.
So many folks talk about the time frame thing. And one of the downsides of living in the world that I live in daily is that I just don't, there's certain things that because of my exposures have gotten away from my body. I came quickly the other day and I was like sad I came quickly because I was like, bummer. Like that's no, I would like to keep going. You even said like, do you want another orgasm?
Yeah.
Come faster, come quick. Why? Are we obsessed with coming more quickly? In your opinion?
No, I'm not obsessed with it.
No, as a culture. Like, because I hear it everywhere. This idea that
we need to come fast and like come a bunch. I don't know. Like that's when the stars align. Like when you come quick, it's when the stars align. Or if you've like resisted having multiple orgasms throughout the week, or if you're holding it in like multiple days, it's gonna come. I mean, I think you're gonna come faster. Or if you're with somebody that you're really excited about versus somebody that's like lukewarm. Like,
the thing Trey is referencing is anticipation, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there have been things that you have done within your week because of an upcoming experience, and it's not leading to fear of failure, it's leading to anticipation. Sure. But isn't it so sad? Like, talk about something that makes me angry every day is that we're putting so much pressure on folks with penises that you're a failure if you don't come fast enough, and you're a failure if you come too fast.
You're a failure if you come first.
Yes. It literally makes me, talk about things that make me angry, make me want to go scream. It is that fucked up bullshit.
Okay.
That, what a joyous thing if a person's with a person and...
It's also embarrassing if you're in the middle of sex and you get soft, it's embarrassing. And it's scary and you don't want to do it again.
Can you talk to me about that? What does that feel like? Yeah. What's the embarrassment feel like?
You feel less of a man.
Okay.
You just do.
Because
you're supposed to be hard and turned on and excited about this sexual encounter. And, and then you either go to, excuse making or self-blame or blame the other person. Yeah.
God, I'm so sorry.
Well, Yeah, and there's so many factors that play into that. How much resiliency you have, whether you're really excited about doing it in the first place, whether something's on your mind, if you're not really excited about the other person. Smells. Sometimes this happens both ways. It goes both ways, where you get a whiff of something, or I don't know, the other person has bad breath, or
Your tummy's hurting.
yeah, or your tummy's hurting. Yeah. Hey, you don't feel good. Yeah. You don't really want to have sex, or you're kind of taking one for the team. Yeah.
Why do you think it goes to that whole list of things you said, self-blame, yada, 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 before it goes to, oh, my body might be talking to me.
I think we're hardwired to...
Fear of failing sex?
No, like, take it when we can get it. Men?
Oh.
Yeah. I think we're hardwired to take it when we can get it also. It's like, this is a sexual opportunity, get up for it. Mm-hmm. Literally and figuratively. Mm-hmm. Like, rise to the occasion.
Uh-huh. Huh. Yeah. That's sad. Yeah. I just think about the pressure that it puts on somebody's body, so many bodies. For people with vulvas and vaginas, I work with a lot of folks who have vaginismus or dyspareunia, which is, tightness for vaginismus at the entry point of the vagina. And yeah, we're working on same types of scripts, which is, I have to give it now. I have to give it now.
We haven't really even touched on like physiological conditions.
Right.
That I can't speak to it.
Right.
I'm ignorant to it. I don't know anything about physiological conditions.
As quote unquote simple as the aging process that leads to hormonal changes, that lead to erections still being possible but taking longer. Mm-hmm. Right? As well as those with hormones in a female body, right? The depletion of estrogen in the body, so lack of lubrication, right? If we don't have curiosity, these bodies that are trying to talk to us and are just healthily and normally aging we could be filled with so much shame.
We could be. One of the things that's helped me in the past is stating what's been going on.
Yeah.
This was years and years ago, I was in a lovely interaction with someone and we weren't using a condom. And I got it in my mind that if I orgasm, I'm going to get this woman pregnant. And I actually ended up getting soft. Mm-hmm. And then I just stated it. I go, oh, this is what's going on. And that, saying it out loud, declaring it, took a lot of pressure off. And guess what? I put on a condom and we had a lovely evening. Another time is where I think I said, I'm sorry, I am just so tired because I had a full day of things. And it was, this was where we had scheduled sex. And I tried to rise to the occasion and she put on lingerie. And I just go, I'm sorry, I'm so tired. Like, I can't do this right now. And was it embarrassing? Yeah. Did it help actually declaring it? Yeah. Did she kick me out of the bedroom and chastise me? No. Was she disappointed? Sure.
That last example speaks to what you and I have been saying over and over again, which is not scheduling sex, but scheduling space to play.
Correct.
Space to connect.
I would have loved to schedule space to connect that night.
We, human beings, have a human need for intimacy.
Yeah.
We do not actually have a human need for sex.
There's a big difference between sex and intimacy. I'm finding that about myself. Like, my definition of sex is way different than my definition of intimacy.
Okay, go. What's your definition of intimacy?
Intimacy is helping, like, asking for help if I have low resiliency or if I'm super sick or being taken care of. That is so much more intimate to me than sex. Yeah.
Ooh.
Like being someone's emergency contact. Highly intimate to me. Yeah, where sex is getting naked and, you know, smushing genitals together, not extremely intimate to me.
That's my phrase. Smushing genitals.
And yeah. Farts.
Yeah.
Intimate.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the condom situation, it being a cause for loss of erection.
It was the lack of condom having it on and me getting in
Yes.
my head that, like, if I come inside of this person, I may get them pregnant. And I was like, oh God, we have to, this was while I was having sex. It's like, oh, we'll have to go to Planned Parenthood, or we need to go get a pill. Oh my God. And then I got soft.
Yeah.
And then I declared, I said all this out loud. And she goes, oh. And then we put on a condom, and then we continued to have a lovely night.
Yes. Fear of pregnancy, one of the top causes for lack of arousal, for loss of arousal. Fear of pregnancy. That's a really legitimate cause. When we, right, can look at whatever we're experiencing, discomfort, loss of erection, blah, 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 and get curious with it together, whomever is having the sexual encounter, cool, right? Somebody being afraid of the mess afterwards, and I just washed these sheets. Okay, cool. Can we grab a towel? Okay, cool. Could we do this? Could we do a shower sex again? Right? There are so many opportunities for fun collaboration that actually, because what happens, and you and I have gotten so much better at this as every day passes, every sexual encounter, when we declare, the other person has a wave of relief too.
Is there, should sex start before clothes are off and like bodies are being touched? Where would this take a lot of pressure off of your male clients if they set up an opportunity for a fun collaboration and an opportunity for play?
Yes.
I wish somebody would have told me this shit in my teens and my 20s. Where it's like, you can have a conversation first. Yeah. I didn't know that. It took me to maybe my late 20s, early 30s.
I think we're still learning.
Correct.
I think that is both. No, I'm just going to say that is freeing. When we all can just accept that we're always learning. No one needs to be the expert. If there's anything we could all become experts in, it's asking questions. It is sitting down and saying, hey, we've never been together before. Like, what would make this good for you? Mm-hmm. Right? It's, yes, taking a longer time. It's getting curious. Where would you like to be kissed? It's, as you are kissing this body that's fully clothed, listening and getting curious about these things. It's if you run into something where they go, right? That you say, I'm so sorry. I'll go softer. I'll go slower. What kind of pressure do you like?
What if somebody has a hard time like answering those questions, or like, say if you ask those questions to a woman, they're like, I just want to be taken. Mm-hmm.
The amount of people I work with who say this.
I just want it to happen. It's like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That bugs me.
Then I say, work with a sexuality educator. That's what I say, because the choosing's more important than the doing. So as human beings in female bodies, the research shows that what we really love is this thing called desirability. We want to understand ourselves as desirable to the male. So this just take me is a piece of that. A piece of that is also decision fatigue, exhaustion, but mostly it's just wanting to be desired and getting for a hot second to be just devoured in a way of our choosing. Super hot. Super cool.
That does rule.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't that be with like established partners or people, or that's not like
I
first or
just-
second time, right?
What I find is people want it to be first and second time. And I think that pressure just needs to be dispersed. What's your word? Dispersion? Poof. Like we just need to let that go. First and second and third and fourth sexual encounters can be about discovery.
Yep.
It is really important to know what we want sexually. This idea of just take me, I get it, hot, okay? If you want to stand in consensual allowing, hot. And also, can you give this person some ideas about what feels good for you? There's just so much more. And I think remembering that these other people that we are having sex with are having their unique experience having sex with our body too. And so to say, just take me, puts so much pressure on the person with the penis to know how to take, right? That's why in Wheel of Consent, there's a may I question. May I take from your body in this way? Why are you making that face?
Because like, reminds me of an experience where it's like, I wish you would have just done it. And I go, you mean like it reminds me of like the R word or the SA word. Yeah. Where it's like, well, huh? Yeah. It's off-putting to me.
I think when you have a female-bodied person who is afraid of sex and has not been given any skills to notice what they want sexually, that just take me is what I hear a lot. A whole lot. And ironically, for the folks that I work with who are in male bodies with penises, I hear how horrifying that statement is.
It's off-putting.
Which, thanks, porn, right? Again, entertainment, right? This idea of, again, Fast and Furious, I love it. But this idea that there doesn't need to be any communication in mainstream porn. I hear you. There's a lot of good language and a lot of great porn. But this predominant narrative, okay, and in entertainment and stuff like this, that somebody's just going to be ravaged. I read a book the other day. It's the same type of thing, right? And then he pulled this off and he pulled that off and he just took me. Again, I understand and I study desirability. I get it. I love it when you lust after me. And there's so many juicy, beautiful questions we've been talking about on this podcast, and the two of us, right? When can we find a time for Trey to just take?
Yeah.
Because that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. I just want to blow the whole narrative up that we need to be mind readers, that good sex is defined by, oh, and then they just knew what I wanted, right? I want to instead say, oh my God, the sex was so good because I felt free and safe enough to ask for exactly what I wanted and what I wanted to do to them.
Yeah. That's like ordering off of a menu. You usually don't tell the waiter, just bring me whatever. And if you do, most of the time it's going to be like, all right, I'll eat it. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful example. Yeah. When you go to your favorite restaurant, you go excited because you know what's on the menu. And then you look at the menu and you say, I'm going to have this, please. Mm-hmm. And we'll keep talking about it. And I would love for you to keep thinking philosophically, what is sex? Yeah. After all of this talking, what do you think the best sex is with me? Describe the best sex with me. Like, what would define great sex?
Both of us being really turned on, either by each other or just in general.
Mm-hmm.
both of us having the time and the space mentally. Obviously the baby's not in the house because that means quiet sex, and a warming up period, foreplay. It can be long, it can be brief, and then really steamy, passionate lovemaking. 2 to 4 minutes. And yeah. That's an intimate question. How ironic, yeah. Or it's like the sex isn't intimate, but answering the question is intimate. And then we go about our day. And then we say, hey, it was really good seeing you. And I hope we can connect. We've been doing that lately. It's like, oh, yeah, great seeing you. Hope to see you around.
What it made me think of is that I was just thinking of great sexual encounters. Some of them are long, some of them are short. Some of them are in the morning, some of them are in the middle of the night. Not the middle of the night, but like as we're falling asleep.
Some of them are spontaneous, some of them are planned out for days in advance.
And what I think is so cool is what I think of more than anything is the contexts that this sex happened in, right? That this physical intimacy of bodies smushing together. Yes, it was about the genitals, but more than anything, it was about the before, the during, and the after. You even said, like, right, then we say, I'll see you around. That's because there's this element of playfulness that exists. That's because there was intercourse of dialogue throughout the day. That's because we had had a shared experience that led to something else. That's because we had gone on a drive or gone on a little date. That's because we had worked on a hard project together. That's because we were proud of one another. There are so many other things that contribute to the things we do with our genitals. You've said this so many times before, smushing your genitals is far less intimate. The before, during, and after, I think, is what creates magical sex in long-term partnership. I think that people can have great casual recreational sex. I do think it's fine. I do think it is more even that recreational and relational casual sex is more than genitals. I think it is a mutual commitment to pleasure, coming to agreements of consent. Yeah, not that turn off like thing. Just take me. And I think it's worth conversing. So I hope somebody texted the other day and said, every time we try to listen to your podcast, we just end up pausing and then talking for 30 minutes.
Good.
So I hope that y'all have paused this podcast many times and had a conversation about what is sex. I think we can all change our minds. I think how you and I would have defined it 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, much different than we define it today. And we get to. If you want to work with somebody who asks those types of questions all the time, whether on your own or with a partner or partners, you can go to sexedforyou.com/free consult and request a consult. We can talk about the way I work with clients, what you're working to overcome or desire to learn. I would love to get to know you and see if we're a good fit. Please remember, these are opinions and lived experiences, and the whole reason we wanted to do this podcast in the first place was so that you could see how human we are. And that was a good example today of how we exist in this world. We're not perfect. So please go form your own opinions, go do your own research. You have a right to informed decision making. You can follow me on Instagram, sex_ed_for_you. You can go to YouTube, follow the Partnership Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your stiffs. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Have some great sex. Bye.